Okay, Tom, just out of the gate, talk to me a little bit about what it is you're doing with this podcast, the whole idea of taking it live.
The whole idea, because people, I guess I just got, over the years I got used to people being able to react to the radio show. You know, they hear something on the radio, they can call and go, well, that's good, that's bad, this is blah, blah, blah. And I've never heard that on a podcast. People's reaction, like Corey, who called in on today's show from Arizona, he was very passionate about what he had to say about what's covered in the news, what he's doing now. I love that perspective. You know, I just love the live element of everything. Plus the fact, I think, maybe me personally, when it's not live, I get a little lazy. You know what I mean? Because like, well, we can just edit that out. And yeah, you just don't have the opportunity to get lazy with it. Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing I really enjoyed about doing this is that, I mean, you were there, Amy was there, Don was there. Don offered his opinion, his perspective on things. I've always enjoyed Don Shelby's take on everything. Mm-hmm. Always. Good takes.
Agree or disagree.
Agree or disagree.
You know, he's thoughtful.
When we had comments in the chat room saying that you were getting very passionate and for a good reason. Mm-hmm. I love that take on everything. Yeah, Rick Kupchella got very passionate and for good reason. I love that kind of feedback. Mm-hmm. You can only get that live. That's the only way you can get that, as you know.
And you're saying even get it out of yourself knowing mm-hmm. that it's live. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely a different thing when it's live.
It is, absolutely. That's why I never understood you guys on TV. I don't know, I could add that because I guess when I get passionate about things, my eyes get really big and I just kind of go, which you guys can't do on television. I mean, say, you can't be doing that. This guy's a raving lunatic.
Exactly. You can't edit that. We actually have to remove that.
Yes, you'd have to remove it. Exactly. But it's just a lot of fun to get the listeners involved. It'll become known for that. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of project I think word of mouth is going to be huge on this because people say, well, this is why you should listen to it. Because Rick did get passionate. Because Don was he was offering a tutorial on different subjects. And it's interesting. Amy's take is going to be, because Amy tends to be a bit more laid back than you guys, I just think that whole female element is going to be huge. Mm-hmm. I just, the Catherine's involved, Alex is involved, now Amy being involved. There's no way. Well, one thing that and you'll notice this, not one person interrupted anybody else. Not one person screamed over the other person. I'm not interested in that Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, I'm going to scream, or you shut up, I'm going to scream over the top of you. This show will never be that way. Never.
How much of this notion of going live between 4 and 5 is very directly about afternoon drive?
100% of it. It's 100% of that. Yeah, and that's an interesting situation because Dan Barrero, I think, is one of the great afternoon drive guys in the country. I really think he is. Joe Souchere, who now is no longer in that time slot, I thought the same thing of him. Don Shelby did afternoon drive for a long time. It's a great afternoon drive town. Steve Cannon before him. You can go way back there. A lot of different people. But as far as doing morning drive, I've been doing it for 27 years. My contract runs out another 3.5 years. It'll be over 30 years of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I don't want to get out of media. I don't want to get out of radio. And as you've said several times now, this is the new radio. I mean, it really is radio. You can talk about podcasting or the internet or whatever, but this is radio. At the latest car show, the auto show, a couple of different car companies got up and they said within the next 5 years there will no longer be AM and FM radios in your car because all AM FM stations are available through podcast anyway. It'll be the internet. They won't have radios anymore. Cars will not have radios any longer because you get in your car and say, I want to listen to the KQ Morning Show. And it'll be there. You're ready to go. I want to listen to the Tom Bernard podcast. It's all radio now. Some of it started on the internet. Some of it started at a radio station with a transmitter and an antenna. But it's all the same now. It's all radio now. Mm-hmm. And I would much rather sleep. I'd like to get some sleep.
Look, if you're going to listen to this whenever you want, I would like to be able to broadcast it whenever I want.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Yeah. And that's one thing you cannot do with radio, unless you just release your podcast, which it doesn't speak really well to where the future is for young people wanting to get into radio, because you're not going to be necessary. I mean, all those people. When I don't know if when I started at KQRS, but there was KQRS AM and FM, then another FM was added, and then another FM was added, and there were a couple of hundred people in the building. Well, all those people aren't going to be around anymore within the next, 5 to 10 years, certainly in the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. But now you look at this podcast, it's unlike any other podcast I've ever listened to, because we now have, I think it's 8 employees on the podcast. But that's always been my deal. Everybody said, why do you have 7 people on your morning show? Because I like talking to 7 different people. I like 7 different takes on things. Mm-hmm. I really like that. I like to hear it. That's why there's so many different people on the podcast. That's why when you brought this up and said, why don't we do this? I said, God, that'd be wonderful. Because that's what I'd like to listen to. And maybe that's selfish. I hope it's not selfish, but what I'm trying to do, along with you and Don and Amy and my family and Tony Lee, is put something out that I would listen to, Yeah. That makes sense, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. That's what Bring Me the News is. I would assume it's news delivered the way you want it delivered.
It is. I mean, we're going out on many channels. I'm curious about your interest. I mean, the gorilla in this town, in this space, for a very, very long time. You can partner with anybody that you want to partner with and putting one of these things together. What is the interest? What's been the interest in doing it with Bring Me the News? What is it about that platform or that model that has gotten your attention?
No, it's because I like your wife. I've already told that. No, well, there is that, but also because
you've got good taste. We'll start there. Yeah. I
will tell you this: it's a different regime now, so I could be very honest about this, because I believe I was not told this, but I believe maybe a year or 2 ago you contacted KQRS about partnering with them, and they didn't do it. And then I found out about it later, and I was thinking, why didn't they want to do that? Why wouldn't they want to do that? Because I would read, I'd go to the website, Bring Me the News. It's now Rick Kupchella's BringMeTheNews.com, by the way. So, pardon me. But I would read the news. It was not, and here's what I think, and here's my little, commenting on the news is fine, but if you're going to be a journalist, there's really no room for that. If somebody does something wrong to denote their affiliations, but if they do things right, you don't. It's like, yeah, you notice that in newspapers, major newspapers across the United States. Well, if this is good, then I can't really give credit to someone who I don't agree with politically. It's that whole, and I guess I'm saying this quite a bit, but it's Newton's laws of motion as applied to politics. That if I'm over here, and you don't agree with me 100%, then you're over here. Well, that's not true. It's not true in the least. And that's what I liked about Bring Me the News. That's what I like about it to this day, is you deliver the news and you allow me to form my own opinion. Now, audio is a different story. I don't think you can do that. You can do it on television, but you can't do it on the radio and be interesting doing it. I think you have to have opinion on the radio. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think you have to add that element to it. And it's not to say you didn't react to stories with empathy or compassion or whatever whatever the story would dictate. That's a good thing. But you can't really look in the camera and go, that guy's a moron. You really can't do that, which on radio you can do. But yeah, I just think, I'd like to eventually do traffic and weather and all that stuff on this podcast. This is going to be a radio station. I've already talked to some other people in town about forming a network and this is going to be run 24 hours a day eventually. It'll be a 24-hour day radio station. I will love it. It'll be fun.
All internet-based.
All internet-based. Because, as I said, in 5 years when you get in your car and say, I want to listen to the Bring Me the News segment of the Tom Bernard podcast, it will play just the Bring Me the News segment of the Tom Bernard podcast. I mean, it'll be there, it'll be loaded, and it'll be voice activated. It'll take no effort whatsoever. It's going to be wonderful.
Mm-hmm. So I appreciate what you're saying about the unbiased nature of the product. Mm-hmm. I get that 100%. It's true. You also, talking to you just casually about Bring Me the News, one of the things that I've paid attention to, getting your attention, is what we've been doing in social what
Yes,
we've just been
absolutely.
doing in this space.
Absolutely.
How do you see that, and what's the attraction of that from where you're sitting?
Well, for me, when I usually wake up around 4 o'clock in the morning, and since I follow Bring Me the News, it's always there, right, in the morning. You know, I go to Twitter, and Bring Me the News is there with, I can't even tell you how many different stories, but I do like that. I don't see that as much from newspapers. Even if you follow them, you don't see, and I don't know why they don't tease their stories. I guess they're just not used to teasing things. You being a TV guy, you've teased things your whole career. But some very, very talented news journalists don't know what teasing is all about.
Yeah.
It's electronic media now. It's a whole different ball game. And that's what the newspaper business is now, and they should really pay attention to that. They really should. Get it out there. Ooh, that story's interesting to me, so why don't I just go? And on Twitter, of course, you just click on it, and the whole story opens, and it's right there. Mm-hmm. So now I understand what's going on. I'm going to go on the air in an hour and a half, and now I got this story pretty much locked in. That's what I like about it.
3 minutes.
It starts as a podcast. You know, I was telling somebody today, you need to come up with another word other than podcast, because it's almost got
true.
like an image around podcast that doesn't speak at all to what this thing already is.
No, I'll have to probably change the name. It'll have to be, I don't know, the Tom Bernard Show or the something show or whatever. It doesn't have to have my name on it. I guess I just put my name on it so it would connect to whoever was on KQ or whatever. But you're right. It's not a podcast. I mean, I guess it is, but it really is not. Because people are, again, saying to me, why are you doing all that? Why would you do all that stuff? Well, because it's what people want to listen to, you know. And you learn, and we've been doing this now for almost 10 months, and you do learn things that work and things that don't work. And, you know, there are a lot of people that think they can do a lot of things, and I might be one of those people, by the way, but they can't necessarily do that. You know, like an example, someone said to me, the last time I was on vacation, someone from outside the industry tried to fill in for me, and it didn't really work too well. I said, we have to understand something. Imagine me going to his job and trying to do what he does. I would be a disaster. So comparatively, what he did a great job. Because going over there, it would be horrible. You just can't plug people in and unplug them and do this, that. You just can't do that. It doesn't work that well. Also, luckily for me, Don Shelby is working with you. Amy Hockert's working with you. You have a lot of other people working with you. Kevin Berger, I believe, works with you. Very, very talented. You have a lot of talent working with you. And I like talent. I really do. I don't like radio people, TV people, and newspaper people, but I like talent that works for those three entities. You know, I like talent. I like that a lot.
Cool. Well, we're looking forward to it.
It's going to be a ball. Thank you.